hopefully we, going to get to announce next week, and of course you'll know, as many of you will be staying up to watch it. Okay, club illnesses, none. Club deaths, none that I'm aware of. But longtime club member Bob Carr, C-A-R-R, turns 95 tomorrow. So happy birthday to Bob Carr. Okay, and then we're going to hit our 50-50 raffle at this time. So get out your tickets. We're going to have Joe draw us a winner. It is worth today $180, and Jim Osborne, our trustee, will be handing out that winning. So get your hand up high so that he can get your money to you. Here we go. Okay. Deep, shallow, whatever be your pleasure. All right, here it is. There's only one roll of tickets this week. I'm told that next week we will have two, but 349, everybody's still in. 685, 685.
I got the
Who's the winner out there? Way back there. Jim, you want to make your way back to here? Keep your hand up so we can get to you. There we go. All right. Thank you, Joe. Next week, our speakers will be a panel of Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame inductees, that being our own esteemed Doug Miller, who we got to announce last week. Doug with Central Catholic and East Canton more recently. Joining Doug will be Tim Miller, longtime Canton South coach. And number 3 on the panel will be Dave Burkett. He originally started at Colonel Crawford High School, then was at Sandy Valley, and most recently at Tuslaw. And bringing up the 4th and final one is my former boss and AD at Perry, Frank Gamble. So we'll welcome them next week. The introduction to this week's speaker, I'll turn it over to Bill Costello.
Thank you, Jim. Wow, this is like a familiar spot here. I remember this place.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a bunch of announcements like I have in the past, but I just want to say this before I start. If the NFL thinks that I'm going to sit at home and watch flag football on a Sunday, I got better things to do. Yesterday, I took a nap. So, Joe Bogdan is in his second year as Director of Sports, Athletic Facilities, and Partnerships and Physical Education for Canton City Schools. He began his teaching career at Sowers Middle School in 1991, 33 years in education as a math teacher and athletic director. Spent 17 years as a basketball coach, including head coaching stops at Tuscarawas Central Catholic, Fairless, and East Canton. He spent 15 years as athletic director at East Canton and 5 more at Lake before he returned to the Canton City Schools. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, a nice warm welcome, Joe Bogdan.
Boy. Good afternoon.
I'll adjust you here.
Sure. I got taller. Out of respect for all of your time, because I know you guys like to ask a lot of questions, especially about high school sports, I will try to talk briefly. But out of respect for my profession, I will talk very passionately. First of all, thank you for having me here. I am honored. And it's up to you to decide if you have any better speakers, but you won't have one that's prouder to be here and prouder to represent high school athletics in Canton City Schools. You're not going to want to miss. You're not going to want to miss next week, though, because we want to be around 4 people who care about kids first. That's your panel. So you're really going to enjoy being around those four guys. I am here to talk to you about the facility things that we have going on in Canton City Schools. But I'm really going to work backwards and talk to you about some other more important things. But I will start there. And then I am a teacher by nature, so there's not going to be a test. But at the end, I am going to give you some homework. So hold on for that. But the things that we've been doing in Canton City Schools that were going on before I got there and the reasons that I came there, because we have so many opportunities right now because of the financial shape that we were in and because of the restructuring of the schools to really do some great things with our athletic programs as well as everything else that we have going on. You get to read about it all the time. But just in the past couple of years, we've been able to put in a new turf field at Crenshaw Middle School, which gives us a lot of access to do things year-round. We are at the tail end of a collaboration with the city of Canton to redo Munson Stadium. If you haven't been down there, it is absolutely beautiful now. 2 turf fields, brand new locker rooms, clubhouse, offices. We built an indoor practice facility for baseball with 2 hitting and pitching lanes and a lot of space to do things. And we continue to grow down there and continue to do things on the programming end that I will talk about in a minute as well. We are deep into our $2 million renovation of the field house. As a basketball guy and as a lifelong resident of Stark County, the field house is very important to me. It's an amazing place. It's the best basketball arena in Ohio by far. And it was in need of some upgrades and some caretaking. A lot of it you can't see. We redid all of the locker rooms, which there's a lot of people in here who have played at the field house since it opened in 1950. And my joke, and it really wasn't a joke, was that until last spring, the locker room that my dad went in 1959, and the locker room that I went in 1986, and the locker room my brother went in 97, and the locker room that our team went in the week before was exactly the same locker room. It had not changed. It was in bad need of an upgrade. So we were glad to be able to do that for our teams and for our athletes and for our guests. We have a lot of painting going on in the upper bowl, and right now on the outer bowl, all that drab brown that you saw as you walked around and tried to see all the history it's going to be a lot brighter the next time you come over there. We have a brand new video board in the middle. That's a shiny thing for people to look at. Allows us to do a lot of things. Very beautiful. A lot of different advertising options for us now and really enhances the people who are there to view the games. And shot clocks have been installed for some future use, we hope. And we're also working on doing another refinish of the floor to try to wrap everything up here by this summer so that we have something that can sustain for another couple of generations as it should. There are people who say that the time for the field house is gone and people shouldn't worry about trying to renovate it, that it's bad money thrown after good money. I disagree. There's a picture that goes around the internet of the guy in Tiananmen Square standing in front of the tank. That'll be me when they come for the field house. It's a jewel. It's precious. It's important. Along with that, we're also now so close to finishing up our final approval of a brand new indoor athletic training facility. It'll be located down on the Timken campus, taking up pretty much of a lot of the parking lot that's there right now. And it'll really be 2 different buildings connected with a lobby. One of those buildings will be a 60 yards of indoor turf, so indoor football facility. And the other building will be a 200-meter track. Then inside the 200-meter track, we'll have 3 courts in there for basketball, volleyball, or tennis. And on the turf side of it, that'll also be a great area for soccer, as well as some full-size drills, the things you can do in there, baseball and softball-wise, when the weather is really bad. Really gives us a first-class facility to have. And our goal from the time that I interviewed for the job was that we should treat and run our athletic programs like we're a small college, because we have the resources to do that. We have the facilities to do that, and our kids deserve that. So those are the things that I'm excited about. Those are projects that drew me back to Canton City Schools from, I had been at Lake for 5 years and what I assumed was my dream job, and that I would never leave there. This is the only place I would have left Lake to come to, and the only job I would have left Lake to be at. And I'm very excited for all the things that we have going on. Now, the facilities, though, as exciting as all of that is, and as big and shiny as all of those things are, that is the least important part of what we're doing. The facilities are great because they give us options and allow us to do things. They allow us to control the spaces where we are going to have our athletes. Because right now, what you see is that youth sports is a mess. And that what we see is that our kids get priced out of being able to train. There are so many things out there to train athletes. It started with travel baseball, and then there was travel softball, and then AAU basketball became not what we used to remember as AAU basketball, where the very top kids were playing. Now it's any 5 kids and a dad with a checkbook are traveling around the country playing basketball. Same thing with JO volleyball. Personal trainers, speed and agility trainers, strength trainers. We have coaches can do all of those things. We don't always have a place that we can do that. And our kids can't always get to places where those things can occur. And we want to close that training gap, and allow our kids to have the opportunities to follow their passions. So programming becomes a huge part of what we want to do, but you can't do programming if you don't have somewhere to do it. So from the facilities comes our programming. And all of those things that I talked about will be great and immediate helps to our high school programs, because it gives them other things that they can do after school, spaces to do them in. But they're not really in the poor shape right now. It allows us to take our middle school kids and program things for them, our middle school teams. And really that's just giving us a cherry on top of a sundae, because we have good facilities for them already. But when we drop down to our youth programming, now what we can do is we can have our own basketball leagues, our own volleyball leagues, where we set it up, we run it, and we have our kids be able to do it free or at an affordable price. And then we can include other groups, because lots of people want to be in the spaces that we're building. We can charge them the going rate to come there and do those things, and provide all of those things for our kids, and provide a little bit of income to come back into the investment that we are making in high school sports and youth sports. And it's an investment that is large. Sports are expensive, but I think we all know how important they can be. A lot of people in this room learned a lot of things playing sports, things that are important and things that translate. And we don't want those lessons to go by the wayside because we can't provide them. We've seen it already in Munson, where there was a fall baseball league, and kids from all over the county and other counties were involved in that league. We housed that league there, and our kids played for free. So we had a dozen kids who otherwise would not have been playing any baseball in the fall when they had time, able to do that. We want to continue. That's our model. Take care of our kids by using the resources that we have. And I don't know if we can fix youth sports completely, but I think that's a good way to try, and we have to try. So I think I'm right. I think it's going to work, but if it doesn't, we tried the best we could to make sure that we gave kids opportunities. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't fix it, we gave a bunch of kids a chance to learn those lessons that we know are so valuable, that sometimes get taken away from them because from the time they are 6 years old, that group of people only wants them to win a championship. And there are no third grade All-Ohioans, and there are no fifth grade state championships. Although somebody probably has one somewhere. That's not why we play sports. And in fact, they should be playing sports because we want them to learn how to fail. We keep trying to make sure our kids never fail, when in fact it should be the other way. I want my kids to learn how to fail playing youth sports because there are no real consequences. That way they know how to handle adversity when things happen that they do fail at, that do have consequences. That's why we have educational-based athletics. Those are the lessons that we're trying to learn. Those are the ones that were taught to me. And I know that those are still the ones that we want to teach to our young kids. And so I'm glad to be in a community that supports athletics and knows that it's important and goes out of their way to do things for the young people. Because not every county is like this. Not every community is like this. And so people want to be here because we have a chance to do those things that are important because they're important to us. And the price continues to get higher, but the price of not providing those opportunities to our kids is much higher than the price that we're paying in taxes or advertising or people who are just donating to us out of their kindness of their hearts. Those are all things that are important to us. Now, we're still not at the most important part, though. So we have the facilities. It's great, and we need them, and it's awesome. And I'm glad to be here to be able to do that. And we want to put all this programming in place, some of which is already there. We want to just enhance what we have. We want to create opportunities that we don't have in some of our other sports. You know, we have a very fine tennis player coming through. We've had some very fine wrestlers, some very fine volleyball players, things where we haven't had huge groups. We want to make those groups bigger and bigger and bigger. And we want to provide those opportunities, not just in football and basketball, that get all of the press and all of the attention. We want to provide those opportunities in everything because we don't know what passion a kid has. And the kids don't always know what passion they have. That's why they shouldn't just play one sport when they're 8 years old. Go do everything, figure out what you really like, and then have those opportunities to pursue those passions. That's one of the goals in Canton City Schools, not just on the athletic side, but on the arts side and on the academic side. So many good things going on when kids can find their passion. That solves a lot of our ills. Because when you have a passion for what you're doing, then you speak better, you show up where you're supposed to be, and you take care of those things that we complain about. But again, now the most important thing is those relationships that we are forming. Relationships with the community, relationships with our kids, the kids' relationships with their teammates. Everything that we do in education is about people. All of the things that I have described allow us to have those moments with our kids, for those kids to have those moments with their teammates, where they are creating those connections that they don't understand yet how important those things are going to be to them in the future. So before I give you your homework and have you pepper me with questions, I do want to tell you one quick story. So the story is about me. I am glad to be in the position that I am in. I am proud to be where I am, and I had to do a lot of hard work to be able to stand here today. And I have tried to be a person who is a servant leader and someone who is generous with their time and their talents, and when finances allow, with my money, which it doesn't allow very often. I have teenagers, so you guys all know. But when I was 21 years old, I had already been raised by a great mother and father. And my dad already did everything that I ever wanted to do in coaching and in education. And they were tremendous role models. But at 21, when I went out into the world, I still didn't understand the things that I understand today. And you all can probably feel the same way about your professions in your adult lives. But what happened was, because of the relationships that my father and my mother had with other people, I'm able to play high school basketball for Hop Collier, who had played for my dad at Walsh. I am able to be hired by Rich Venuto, who, if you don't know him, you should, to work at Marlington as an assistant coach for my first 5 years, and who is my second father and treated me like his son in both the good ways and the bad ways from when I was younger, because he had also played for my father, until today. If I need something today, my father is deceased, I'm going to call my mother and then I'm going to go see Coach Venuto. And then those people were allowed to put me in front of other people. Coach Venuto put me in front of Larry Wilson and Pat Carroll and guys who said, okay, Joe, you're going to go run this event for us. You're going to go be part of the Coaches Association and do all of these leadership things. And they taught me how to do all the things that I think I can do well now, whether it was communication, organization, being generous. We sometimes complain about our kids, and we sometimes blame it on their families aren't raising them right, or they don't have a family to raise them. Those things can be true. And that is hard on a kid, and it is hard on a family, and it is hard on your development and maturity. And so we try to put things in place to help those kids do those things. And that's all the stuff that I was talking about on the athletic side. Then you have to do all those same things on the academic side. But my point is, it's not about whether you had a good family or not, because I had the best family you can have. And I still needed all of that help to do everything that I did. Everything that has come to me is because of relationships that I built with other people. And that brings me to your homework. Your homework is to go back to your job or your family or your community or your school. Find those kids who need to be mentored and be generous with your time and your talent. And if possible, your finances. Because those kids someday want to stand here or sit there, and they don't know how to get there yet. And we all play a part in that. Because as much as in my job, I can become very frustrated with adults because we're supposed to know better, I am always optimistic when I spend time around young kids. They do want to learn. They do want to act right. They do want to be respectful. They need someone to show them that. And the more of us that do that, the better community we form and the better things happen. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I will now allow you to marinate on that and then pepper me with all your real questions about what we have going on. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I'm big in track as far as, will you be able to run meets on this 220 track that you build?
Okay, so with the indoor track, turn meter indoor track, we're building all of our facilities more so on the training side than the meet side, because we don't want to waste it. It's going to be expensive, and we don't want to add to that expense with spectator amenities. However, we do have enough room and we do have a plan, because again, these things have to be, we got to be ready on that first day that it's open. We do have a programming plan. So track specifically is what he's asking about. One good idea that we were throwing around last week was having an indoor track league where we find 5 other schools or 11 other schools, and one day a week at night we run a meet. I was just at Mount Union this past Saturday because my son pole vaults, and I was at Akron the week before. There's all these people doing all these things, and they all paid to be there. So again, we create that event at home. All of our kids are entered free. We're charging all the other schools the same rate they're paying to go somewhere else, but now they know they're going closer. And we're making that work for us financially, so that we can do those things. We're not going to have any Olympic trials, but we are going to have lots of opportunities for our kids to run. Yes.
What kind of poles did your boy use and what's his top height?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. No, he's with the pole vault guru, Lee Sternberg. He's he's just kind of getting into it again. I don't think he jumps very high, but again, he loves to go. It makes him get out of bed and go work hard. He is never going to be a college pole vaulter or an Olympian, but he is learning valuable lessons and spending time with his friends that he enjoys.
It's not a bamboo pole.
And it is not a bamboo pole. Yes, sir, Coach.
You mentioned the field house is going to be air conditioned.
I did not mention that. So yeah, that was because I'm an old school basketball guy. So I'm like, what do we need air conditioning for? Get in there, it's nice and hot. That gets you a good sweat running up and down. That's not really how things go. It is going to be very nice to be temperature controlled in there. And so, and as a basketball guy, it makes me very happy for when the regionals come back there in March, because if you get the right crowd and the right weather, that floor can get real slippery. Yeah. I still claim the 2000 district semifinal would have gone differently had there not been so much condensation on the floor. But that's probably just me and no one else remembers, so it doesn't really matter.
Way in the back.
Yes. Oh, yes, sir. This is going to be a great question, and we're all going to feel better about ourselves afterwards. That I know for sure.
Here's my question. Tying in your facility program to J.A. Stern, the Cal Ripken project, and South. Is there anything in your programming that ties all that together?
So right now we're doing, and they are going to, at the J. Babe Stern Center, put in another field there and using part of the Sowers property that we haven't kept for a hopeful new building in the future. But between them and the city of Canton, things that they do, we bring all of those partners to the table and say, how can what we like to do with our facilities and our plan and the way we want to treat our kids, how does that tie into things that you're already doing? And so how can we collaborate? Now we have extra fields to use there. The city has fields. Our youth softball is one of those things that we don't have to start. We just want to be able to enhance what we do because we have a great partnership with the city of Canton already. We have a long-standing relationship with the boys club. And so all of those things allow us to better the community because we're working together. Yes.
Do you have the authority?
No.
You go to the field house, you don't have an app on your phone to buy a ticket to get in.
So when you come for the tournaments or for our games?
Everything. All
Okay. So for Camp McKinley games, we are, and with the rest of the Federal League as well, we have gone to online ticketing. It creates a lot of good on our end, and it creates some stress on your end, especially this group. My brother sent me a text this morning and said, enjoy being the youngest person in a room. It rarely happens to you anymore. So we understand that can create some things. The system they use, hometown ticketing, is the same one they use for tournaments. Actually, all of it. So if you're mad at any of the schools, you're probably mad at me, because us and Glen Oak, when I was at Lake and Glen Oak are the ones who adopted it first, and then it spread to everybody else during COVID because it became a godsend then, because we were trying to limit who could be where and doing things. But we understand that we have an older population of fans that want to be there, who want to see their grandkids play, that struggle with the technology sometimes. And so at the field house for McKinley home games, you can still pay with cash, but you need to come during the school day. If you come during the school day to the ticket office, we can sell you a cash ticket. if you come to the field house during the school day with your credit or debit card, we can help you get a home ticket printed out there for you right away. We will also help you get an away ticket if it's something that's done online. Now, we don't have anything magical in our office. I have two great ladies in there, Kim and Nancy, will get on their own computers and they'll go to the other school. If we're going to Lake that night, they'll go to the Lake website and buy the Lake tickets and put in your credit card information for you. So it's not easier for them. It's actually harder for them, but they are glad to do that because we want people to be able to go to the games. On game night, you have to have a credit or debit card, and they can run that for you right there. You don't have to go on your computer and do anything. If you are familiar with phone apps, Hometown Fan is the app for most schools, and you can type in McKinley and our games come right up, and it goes from there. So I don't have the authority to stop doing that, but we do have to try. We do have the authority to put things in place to try to be as helpful as possible. Yes.
I like high school basketball, but I can't ever find out when the heck the games are. I like to see McKinley play sometime, but I have no idea when they play.
All right, so all McKinley stuff, McKinleyathletics.org. On your phone, on your computers, McKinleyathletics.org, and you'll be able to find, just click on the calendar. It'll bring up if we have home games, away games. Now, the home games are always accurate. The away games are dependent on our opponent to enter them into their side of the scheduling software. So we try to keep up to that, and it tries to be pretty accurate. But that's the place to be is McKinleyathletics.org. Again, especially with changes and things in newspapers, staff's getting smaller, and us not printing things as often. And the radio, we used to get all the scores on the radio. We would wait till 11:10 on Tuesday nights after our games to see who else won. Well, now we know in the locker room. We don't, so they're not announcing all those scores on the radio anymore and all those changes. So it is a different way of finding that information, but that's a good one-stop shop. And then you can always call the athletic office. So again, our ladies are there. They're glad to help anybody anytime. Follow up.
Technology, wouldn't you have one central place where you go, like maybe see who Massill's playing this week? Why couldn't you guys do that?
So, well, I don't know that they would let us. But in general, there is a Federal League site. I like you to go to ours because selfishly, having more traffic on ours allows me to sell better advertising. But there is a Federal League site, Federal League Ohio, and I believe they try to keep up with everything on there. WHBC does try to put some schedules out. The repository does try to have some schedules on their sites. But yeah, it is harder. It's definitely harder.
What was the crazy reason for not selling tickets at the door?
For tournaments?
Pardon me?
For the tournaments?
Any game.
Okay, so we do at the door, and so do all of our Federal League opponents. We sell them at the door, but you can't buy with cash. The reason we got rid of cash is because that creates a lot of extra work and extra stress of where are the money boxes, who's got it, how do we reconcile everything. And so that's part of the allure of online ticketing is all of that money is somewhere else. We can just bring it in and everything's kind of done for you. But you can buy a ticket at the door for our home games and most of our away games. The Ohio High School Athletic Association sells all of their tournament tickets online. Now, for the regionals, we are now set up to be able to sell tickets at the door if they allow us to do so. They have Ohio High School Athletic Association, it's their event.
Well, the guy last year in here gave the impression that the reason you went to this because of this honesty at the ticket vendors.
I've worked with so many great people in everything that I have done. And are there dishonest people? Yes, in everything, everywhere. I would never say that just because that disparages the 99 great people I've worked with for one person. That's probably why I don't work for the OHSAA.
Did you ever think of giving free passes to
senior citizen.
I bet that would be very, very popular. Very, very popular in this room. And yes, that's school district by school district. So in Canton City Schools, we have not had that discussion just because they traditionally have not. But it's not something that they took away. At other places, at Lake, it was once someone was 60 and they lived in this district, then they gave them a free pass. At East Canton, it was lower than that, and we had kind of tried to incrementally raise it because we had dads like, I'm 55, I have a senior in high school, and I don't know that I should be going to all the games for free. So we kind of raised that up to 60. Some people have made 65 the new standard. But that is school district by school district. And I can honestly tell you, we just have never talked about it in Canton City Schools because it hasn't been a thing in the past. And really, our fan base, like our city, has shrunk, as it normally will, and aged. But if you think about when they originally made those decisions about this, that, or the other, you're talking about a fan base that is not just in Canton, that is all over the place. And so now, how do we decide, do they have to live inside the Canton City Schools? Because the argument was always, the senior citizens are the ones, they vote on your levies, let's be nice to them. And then I was actually in a meeting at a different school district where someone accurately pointed out, yeah, but most of the senior citizens voted against our levy, so maybe we should charge them more. So, it really goes around and around in a circle. And I will certainly ask them to visit that, but that's what happens.
Why don't you talk about it?
Just because sometimes we spend so much time doing the things that are right in front of us that we don't get to the things on the side. Yes.
Are you doing work in Wilkshire?
That would be the city of Canton, and yes, they are. So that's not Canton City Schools, that's city of Canton also continuing to upgrade things. And again, them doing that enhances a lot of their programming, but that also then leads into helping our softball program. It's just more spaces to do things. I'm very excited about a lot of the things that are happening in Canton. I think there's a lot of really nice things happening downtown. But, and maybe it's because of what I've done my whole life, I am most excited about upgrades to recreational facilities and parks and walking paths. Those are the things that attract people to live in an area. I think that while those things don't always, a walking path is not going to pay me back on the money that I put into it. But I think by virtue of drawing people in, it enhances what we're doing and pays off in that way. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you were talking about money, right? Saving money with your schools. Like a couple of weeks ago, the superintendent announced that you were building a new school downtown. Why are you putting money in the facilities if you're going to move downtown?
None of the money that we're currently spending would affect any potential move downtown. Now, the new high school downtown has been put on hold. I believe that they are finalizing their bond issue for 2 new elementary schools at the Sauer site and at the Mason site. And there'll be a lot more information coming out upon that. There's still a lot of debate about financing and being able to move the high school away from what I call the Disneyland of football, where we currently are. But all the athletic things that we're doing, we will continue to own the field house. Even if we moved tomorrow, we continue to own the field house and all the land. We continue to own the natatorium and the football operations building, which is first class in the country. And we will continue to utilize those things, just as they did in all the time from 1950 when the field house was built. There wasn't a school there until 1976, and there were 3 other high schools, and they were all coming there. And we would continue that model of bringing our athletes to where our athletic facilities are. And again, I see it as an investment of something that has to happen. McKinley High School has almost been at that place as long as the original McKinley High School was where it is. So if you think about that, and I know that a lot of you think we never should have left that building. So that's a whole different argument. But we are getting to the point where you either decide, yeah, we have this opportunity to move and be somewhere where our kids can flourish, or we're still going to have to go to the voters, stay where we are, but we need a lot of renovations. The same as our houses. Yes.
About 10 or 15 years ago at Willie Field, they had the Olympic softball team out there holding practices, and I think they had some scrimmages against the teams. Are there any plans to do that again?
I don't know if they have any plans with the Olympic teams. I know that we're always trying to draw in new programming, especially to showcase some of the things that we have. So for instance, at Munson, we've already had, I believe that Akron is scheduled to come there and play a college game. And so that allows our kids to see what Division I baseball looks like. We could talk and think all we want, but until our kids see it, that's a big eye opener. We are trying to attract. So one of the reasons that I have the shot clocks in the field house, when we repaint the floor in the summer, I'm also going to put the college 3-point line on there. Because what I'd like to see is the OAC or the GMAC or some other colleges come and play a couple games there in that great facility. It showcases their league because there's great basketball in both of those leagues and volleyball for that matter as well. And gives us an opportunity to utilize those things more and draw those community things in. Yes.
Is there any plans they're going to build a new football stadium for McKinley?
Now we're gotten into Joe needs to hit the Powerball. So on the plus side of that, I think we can all agree that we play in the finest high school stadium in the country. That comes with some drawbacks though, because it's not ours. I can talk about it is sometimes hard. Now they've been very good and to work with, but it is a little different when you have your own thing. And I think there's a lot of us, not just you guys' age, but me as well. I think there's a lot of us who just kind of miss Fawcett, even though it was replaced with this really beautiful thing. But no, nothing that there's no financial path forward other than a big community push and private money drive to have another stadium.
Do you guys have control over the athletic football fields that are up there as far as bringing in the soccer, football, midget leagues and all that?
Yeah, so the Forever Lawn youth fields back there, that is run by the Hall of Fame Village. And they cooperate with us. So no, we don't control everything that's out there, all the soccer, all the lacrosse that you see. But we do benefit because, especially think about in the fall, from that 3 o'clock to 5:30, they allow us the use of not just Don Scott Field, but we use 5 of the turf fields so that all of our football athletes, all of our soccer athletes, our band can all be out there right after school. There's 7 fields that are turfed, and then the Don Scott Field, which is not yet turfed. So there's a lot of things that can happen at once, and we benefit from being able to do that from 3 o'clock to 5:30 most days that we want, because it is hard for our kids to leave campus and find their way back to campus for a late practice, like we have to do in a lot of other schools with a lot of other sports, where not everybody can go right after school. The more we can get our kids to school and keep them there till we're done with them, the more smoothly things run. So that's a very big benefit to us to have all that practice space. Yes, sir.
The big dome that they built, which has some indoor fields, land, I understand. You have access to that?
We have access to rent it because that was never included in any of the agreements, because that was never really part of the original Canton City Schools footprint. So they've built it. We do rent it a couple days a week right now. Again, some donations and some athletic money to be able to go in there, but they are running that as another revenue stream for them. You know, we sometimes forget the Hall of Fame itself and the Hall of Fame Village being two different things. The Hall of Fame Village is a business. It's an entertainment business, and you know, and it's right around a school, and it's right around a huge community asset like the Hall of Fame. But at the end of the day, they need to create things where they can create income. Yes.
You stated earlier that youth programs are a mess. What's the solution?
I think what I tried to talk about with our plan of getting things back in the communities, making things smaller, trying to see, or trying to get parents to see that traveling 3 hours and staying overnight to play 4 baseball games where you get to get 10 at bats and the ball hit to you 4 times is not cost effective when you could stay in your own community, do those exact same things in 4 hours without any travel or any meals or any hotels, and then take 4 more of those hours and actually get grounders, take swings. All of these games are based on skill development. You know, our kids are bigger and faster and stronger than probably we were. And one of my favorite things to do is I talked about Coach Venuto and Coach Collier earlier, is I would show them the Walsh picture with those guys and my dad and say, all these years I told my dad he wasn't a very good coach because his record was bad. Turns out he's a horrible recruiter because you guys are so tiny. So our kids are bigger, faster, and stronger, but they're not more skilled. And all of the travel base, so we're on our second generation of travel baseball and softball. We're on our first generation of travel football, for God's sakes, and all these other things, and playing volleyball all year round and having your own private tennis coach. Stark County and Ohio in general and everywhere, we are not producing more NFL-ready talent. We are not producing more NBA basketball players. We don't have more Major League Baseball players, you know, impactful Major League Baseball players since 1970 from Stark County. There's not that many. It is not the solution. The way youth sports are going right now, all it is doing is pricing people out and making kids unhappy at an earlier age. And so we have to try to do something different, and that starts in your communities and small, and just show them, look at how your kids can enjoy this. Look at how much more stuff they're getting done. And you just try to convince one family at a time to stop spending all of that money traveling. It is multiple billions of dollars are spent on youth sports every year. Imagine if we spent that in our communities instead. Now, some of that is you want your kids to have fun. You want them to be with their friends. We can still create those things. We can do it at a lower cost, and we can do it with more skill development. I don't think if you're the 6th best player in your 3rd grade class, that traveling around the country to sit on the bench until one of the other 5 guys gets in trouble is helping your development. Especially when 4 of those guys, 2 of them are going to end up playing only football, 2 of them are going to end up playing only basketball. You traveled around the country but sat on the bench, so you're not ready when your basketball coach needs you.
Is there any in the indoor facilities to get younger kids or even in the Canton area golf facility, you know, just to learn how to hit the ball?
Yes. So, and I love to play golf, and I'm horrible. My dad's only swing advice was ever, swing harder, because he was good. He didn't care what I did. But the answer to your real question is, in the turf area there, that's a great area to do some golf development. But I have another idea down at Munson, where there is right now a pavilion on the first base side. I have a little bit of a dream with some traction to it where we enclose that, put in a little chipping and putting area and a couple of golf simulators so that we can start to have more golf at a younger age. Because again, if they're passionate about it. Our kids right now, too many of our soccer players, our golfers, our tennis players, they're in ninth grade are deciding, hey, I might want to give that a try. And some of them really like it. But honestly, by that time, it's too late. So we have to get them earlier. That's what all these facilities are for. Like I said, our middle school programs and our high school programs do a nice job with their skill development and working with the kids that they have. We want to do a better job, grades 3 through 6, and getting them into those facilities and showing them those things in case that's their passion. Now, we currently work with First Tee, and we have some good programming with our city kids who want to go there and do some golf clinicking because they also have an indoor simulator to keep people out of the weather. So we want to enhance those things. We want to expand those things. Yes.
Kansas City schools own the parking lot. Do they get the revenue from that?
There is no parking lot revenue because we don't charge to park for any of our events. When there's the Hall of Fame Enshrinement Week, the Hall of Fame kind of takes over the whole campus in cooperation with all of us. So they have private parking and whatever. We do sell some reserve parking for our high school football games. Again, because high school stadiums are harder and harder to get to, and ours especially, for people to come and see their grandkids play.
School system, doesn't it?
But the land is school system land.
So it's Don Scott Field, right?
All of that is, yeah, it's all our land. They're under 100-year land lease or something like that. I don't do all the lawyer stuff. That's my brother. But I know that they've been good partners and we try to be good partners, but we do like to remind them all the time that it's still ours. Yes, sir.
Do you think that contact sports should be introduced to kids before 14 years old?
Well, I think it's more of a size thing about rather than an age. He asked about contact sports at 14 years. And I think you just want to be careful. I like flag football as opposed to tackle or fully padded football, but I don't know if it's for the same reason. I think, because I have nephews who are 8, 10, 12 years old. And I see them run around without any pads and put some pretty good licks on each other. So I don't know that it's all the contact part of it, but I do know that if you are 10 years old and you just happen to be one of the bigger kids, nobody wants to be the 10-year-old center. Nobody wants to be a 10-year-old tackle in football. Everybody wants to be a receiver. Everybody wants to be a quarterback and a running back. And I think we talk about participation. Make all those kids think that they're a quarterback and a receiver. And then, when they get to 7th grade, then their coach can break it to them. Okay, but you're going to play tackle. And then they can learn to like that because now they're a little bigger and they can learn the skill part of being in the trenches a little bit more. But what I don't want to do is have contact scare away their families or scare away the kids or have them lose interest in being around teammates and being around good coaches. Last question. I made it. Maybe.
Do you have any support from Eric Snow or Phil Hubbard or Mike Doss?
Oh, what a great community to be in. Eric Snow, Phil Hubbard, Mike Doss have all been very generous with time, talents, and finances when possible. They are a model of loving their city. Mike Doss has driven up here from Columbus 3 times in the last 12 months just to come to school, either for a game or to see the coaches. He brought up a really cool relic a couple weeks ago from his induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. He brought a football up that shows that we could show our players and we could put in the trophy case over at the football facility. And I tell all the coaches that no one's coming to McKinley to coach with or to work with the idea that, hey, I'm going to get something started and someday, no one's ever going to name the floor after you. No one's ever going to name the stadium after you because there are so many great people who've already been here. We are all just caretakers of the tradition. And I take that very personally, and it's important to me. And I know it's important to all of you. And so we try to make it important to the younger people so that we don't lose that. Again, thank all of you.